All right. I think we're live. Let's check it out. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I am Captain Coder. I am working on a puzzle game, a chess puzzle game. So actually, I haven't even started this. I'm excited about it. I've been refactoring, so I got super inspired by a post on Reddit. Someone posted a new programmer, a new coder, made a post asking how to like unit test some code they'd run. They made this chess game, and console-based chess game that worked. It was awesome. It was great, and so I played it, and I was like, "Wow, this is impressive." They were wanting to know how to code it. I looked into it. I hopped into the code, and it's a little bit messy. So I wanted to give them some advice on how to test it, but really, the program was the code was not really unit testable. Unit tests, I think, are some of the best way to test, the easiest ways to test. But the code was not testable. It was messy, spaghetti code. So I told them I was not. Sorry, I got distracted. I'm reading an email here. I let the person know I think that they should focus on learning object-oriented programming. I asked them if I thought it would be a really fun exercise. I've always wanted to make a chess game, so I thought it'd be a fun exercise to go through and see if I could refactor it and make it a little better. And they didn't mind. They said that was fine, so I went ahead and did it. And here we are now. I wrote an article about it, which was fun to do. Let's see, I got an email here I gotta read real quick. One moment, bear with me. Oh, I'm learning something new. Someone posted about auto properties, which I've never heard of. And so they're giving me a little bit of some advice, which is awesome. I always love to hear. Some auto properties. I don't know how to make. Auto properties. Oh, this is. I see what I did. I had kind of heard of these. So I should do like a private set. Okay, I'm mumbling to myself. Sorry, anyone no one's watching, so I got distracted here. Okay, let's actually hop in. Let's hop in. All right, so I was actually in the process of setting. I haven't this project. The only thing I've done is create a solution. I'm sure people are yelling at me saying I should be using Visual Studio. I'm using Visual Studio Code. There's a couple reasons I use Visual Studio Code. I teach classes online and in person sometimes, but my school is I teach at an online school, and my students have various hardware. Some of them have Windows, some of them have Mac. The Visual Studio for Mac is just not great. I've had so many issues with it, and even if I made videos or if I was talking through problems or whatever with Visual Studio, and so everyone on Windows would be okay. There's also different versions of Visual Studio. Anyway, I'm forcing myself to learn how to do everything in VS Code for a couple reasons. Using the command line is good. Knowing what's happening under the hood is good. And then also being able to have a single tool that I tell my students, if you use this, I can help you, especially in beginning intro-ish classes. So I use VS Code for simple projects. That's been no problem. So this is actually going to be a project where I'm trying to learn how to use solutions. In the past, I haven't used solutions, and so probably going to be swayed here at this point to be like, oh yeah, I shouldn't be using, this is what everyone always says, you should use Visual Studio because it handles solution stuff much better. But here we are. I've created a solution. Now I need to I want to build this up sort of the correct way. So my idea is to build it up the correct way. And so I'm going to have I want to have unit tests as I go, think through my process, and do semi-test driven development. And I don't always do test driven development, but that's something that I think you should strive to do. I'm on my own project, and when you're working on your own, you often don't do that. But I have a pretty good feeling for it. So we're gonna try. I don't have like a big a solution in mind, but my idea here is not to make a chess game, but to make a chess puzzle game. Do I have a copy of the chess puzzle game? Yeah, Solitaire Chess. Inspired me here. So here's this game, Solitaire Chess, where you have little chess puzzles to solve. That looks like it's backwards in my video stream, so sorry about that. I don't know why my camera's reversed. It's probably because I want it so that way. Is that right? No, when I look this way, I'm looking at my code. I don't know. I don't know why my camera's reversed. I thought I had it set up so when I was looking at code, my face would be facing the code. Maybe I should flip my camera here. That's okay. I'm gonna keep going. Yeah. So we're coding a chess puzzle game from scratch, and I want to. So we're gonna have pieces that move like chess. We're gonna have boards that act like chessboards, but they may not be an 8x8 grid. In this one, I think all of the chess boards are small 4x4, but the idea is that you have pieces that are chess pieces that move like chess pieces, but you have different puzzles you're trying to solve. That's the idea. So I've created this solution. So now I'm going to make two projects. So in C#, typically you have a project for your code, and then you have a project for your unit test, or at least that's what I understand. I'm trying to learn more about programming in C#. I'm still pretty new to C#. I've done a little bit of Unity here. Yikes. How do I ban a user? How do I? Yeah, so I just had a spam bot hop into my chat and try and solicit inappropriosities to me. Okay, so here we are. Yeah, so I have two components I'm going to create. So my goal here, all right. So here's my ultimate goal. I want to create three things. I want to create a chess library. So a library for handling logic and pieces of chess. So there's going to be one project that's just that. That one will be unit tested as well. And then there's going to be a second project, which is a console-based version of so then I'm going to create a console-based version of my puzzle game. And then my idea is to make it so I can make a graphical version of my game. So the idea is to go through the whole process of building up the library along with a console application. So there's two different things. So I think I need .NET new lib. Is that what it is? And so if I was in Visual Studio, there'd be like a thing telling me what to do, but I think it's good to learn these commands. So .NET new class library. So my class library is going to be all of my models and logic for my game. And then I'm gonna actually make a console app. And then I'm not sure, I'm probably going to do it as a Blazor web application for the game, but I was thinking it might be cool to do it as a mono game or Unity project. But I like publishing things online. I like publishing things. So anyway, here we go. .NET new class lib. All right. So I'm going to create a class lib here for my chess game. Chess. I'm bad at naming stuff. So chess. I'm just going to call it chess. No, let's come up with a better name. Chess lib. I'll just call it chess lib. Terrible name. But we'll call it chess lib. I'm also gonna have a new console project, and this is gonna be console chess puzzle game. I have to do a -o. All right, and then I want to do unit tests, and it seems like there's a bunch of different ways to do it, but the unit test I'm looking at is called X units. So .NET new X unit, and we're gonna call this chess lib.test. Okay. So this is what's interesting in when you're developing .NET. I think this is kind of smart because your unit tests and stuff are all separated. The idea is to keep these things separate. So all of my model and logic will be in chess lib. Then my console game, I'm gonna create a sort of console view and console controller. So like agents for interacting with my chess lib, and it won't actually need the code. At the end of the day, you have like this DLL, you have a library for doing it. And then when I'm finally there, I'm gonna add in hopefully the graphical version. So this is me getting started on this project here. So several components here. And now I need to get them all connected to the solution. So I believe the way I do this is .NET sln add. So there was a command I ran at the beginning to create the solution file. Chess lib here, .NET sln add chess lib.test, and then finally add in the console chess puzzle game. Okay, so these are all part of my project now. And did this generate? No, my OBJ files and stuff are still part of my brain work. Part of it's still in my repository, so I'm gonna add a git ignore here. All right, and this is gonna ignore all OBJ and bin folders. Supposed to. What did I do wrong? There we go. Why does it? Anyway, star I thought was gonna say find these and all the things in all the subdirectories forever down, but okay, we got those. So the things that are actually being added now should only be relevant. I actually don't want class 1, unit test 1, usings. This is interesting. Usings, I haven't seen that before. I'm assuming this is, so we have X unit there. Gotcha. VS Code wants me to add in select a project to launch. Ooh, which project? So now I have multiple projects. I'll go with test for now. So I'm gonna be adding in logic for these and testing it, and then slowly building out a console program on top of it. I want to ignore code, the VS Code folder, like that. Okay. And let's, yeah, so class 1. So I think, this is interesting. I should probably name these, have the namespaces be, this is interesting. So I don't quite understand how you should do namespaces, that sort of stuff in your program, but it should be relatively unique. ChessLib isn't particularly good at being unique. So I like the brand CaptainCoder.chess. That's the namespace I'm gonna use. So I probably should have named this CaptainCoder.chess, and then this would be CaptainCoder.chess.console chess program or something like that. But anyway, I'm gonna just do it here. Don't think it's a big deal. Be nice. So if I were in Visual Studio, I imagine it'd be a nice way to rename this, but I'm gonna just hold off on doing that here. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. So my idea here is, I'm gonna have an interface called eyepiece that I know. So I had just done this, so I'm gonna rename this to eyepiece, and I'm gonna do public interface eyepiece to start out. Leave that empty for now. I'm just trying to get my repository initialized. Unit test 1, terrible name. And again, this should be Captain Coder dot, did I just do dot chess here? Yeah, Captain Coder dot chess dot test. And we're gonna call this unit test, probably not eyepiece test because it's an interface. You don't really test interfaces. There's no implementation, but I'm gonna make this abstract piece test, I think, or I'm gonna call it pawn piece test. I know I'm gonna have a pawn piece, so I'm gonna rename this as pawn piece test. I don't think I have to modify usings. It's just letting me have a, this is cool. I didn't know there was global usings. That's kind of fancy. And then my console project here is fine. I don't have to make any changes to that. Let's close all these. Let's look at, make sure I'm not adding anything weird. So I have a gitignore specifically for C# source project. So that's in there. My gitignore at the top level, my solution projects, and a couple C# files. So let's add that here. Chore, initialize, solution, and 3 sub and projects. Okay. Okay. Get that there. So my eyepiece. So the idea, so I'm gonna need a couple things. I need a board. So when I do test-driven development, it's pretty important to have interfaces that you can reason about. All right, so using interfaces rather than the concrete implementations when you're doing unit tests can be nice, because then you can just pretend you have them. You can do mocking on them. You can make mock versions of them. And this will be interesting. I'm curious if there are mock there are mock. I'm sure there are mock libraries for C#. I just never use one. I've done quite a bit of coding in other programming languages, Java, Python, but I'm trying to grow my C# skills. I'm falling in love with C#, but you might have mock objects that you use and you test to say, okay, when I call this method, just pretend it's going to return this thing. Anyway, so we have eyepiece. I'm going to create another interface, iBoard. So the idea is I'm doing a puzzle game, so there's many different types of boards I might have. One that's 4x4, maybe a 3x3, maybe some weird 5x5 ones, I don't know. But the idea with an iBoard is to have an interface that gives me how this thing describes how I intend for this thing to be used, and to use it that way. So an iBoard, the idea is, and maybe I should call it iChessboard. The idea with an iChessboard is we have a grid. So I'm gonna have some properties, public, int rows, int calls. So we'll have a property called size. What is this? Oh, I have to tell it that this is going to be a property. We can get the size. Okay. So I know my board is going to have a size. And then I also want, so this is why having interface is nice, because now I can also have a thing that says public IP. Let's do a couple of them. Public bool is empty. And this is gonna take in an int position. So given a position on the board, tell me if that position is empty. Okay, so pair int. And then public eyepiece. Oh, I need to put this in the same namespace, captain coder.chess. So now I have access to eyepiece. Public eyepiece get piece. So we're able to get a piece that's at a position. Okay, so this is like our iChessboard. So this gives us, we have some way to manage some state on a board. Okay, so get piece, eyepiece. So there's this idea of like, should I have set piece in the interface, or is that an implementation detail? I'm not sure. What I want to do, I know I want to be able to initialize a chessboard, so put things on a chessboard to begin with. So I'm going to do a public void init board. So I'm going to be able to give it a list. I want to be able to give it a bunch of pieces to put on the board in specific positions. I don't necessarily want to be able to move pieces around on the board, but I'd like to be able to have a chessboard where I can say, here is the state of the board, and init board will take it and put all of those pieces on the board, and it's going to return a bool to represent whether or not it was successful. Because if it's not successful, then it's not successful because you might be trying to put pieces in places that don't exist on the board. Yeah, so bool init board. I'm gonna have this take in a list of eyepiece pieces. So it's going to take those pieces and initialize the board with those pieces. All right, so this is the interface I'm thinking of ahead of time. All right, so if I initialize a board, those are the things I want it to be able to do. Let's add a little comment here. Retrieves, or the size of the board, a pair representing the size, the dimensions of this board. About as simple as it get. The rows, rows. I don't know if I need to put in here that it, so a constraint that I have is rows must be greater than or equal to 1. So rows must be greater than 0, columns must be greater than 0. That's like the conditions I want to enforce. Is empty. Given a position on the board, returns returns true if there is no piece at that position, and false otherwise. So one thing here that I also want to do is mention that you throw an exception if you're outside of the bounds of the board. Okay. We're going to throw an exception if we're outside of the bounds of the board. Position, a row column pair that must be within the dimensions, within the size of the board. And I'm curious how I notate I want to throw something. So I'm gonna Google it real quick. C#, XML documentation throws using exception tag. Okay, so there's a tag called exception. Here we go. So I should use exception. And it's going to throw an argument out of range exception thrown when the position is outside the bounds of the board. All right. What does that look like? So I don't like that it doesn't show up in the description. So, yeah. And that could just be a VS Code thing. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm gonna leave that there. It's gonna throw, and I guess I'm supposed to do system, not argument out of bounds exception. That's okay. All right, let's keep going. Get piece, given a position on the board that contains a piece, returns the eyepiece. Returns the eyepiece that occupies the specified position on the board. And then we're going to say that this will throw an exception. If no piece is in that location, in that position, this method will throw an I want to do like a state exception. C# state exception. Let's see, what is it called in C#? I want an illegal invalid operation exception. Indicates an object has an invalid state. All right, so invalid operation exception is what we want. Exception cref equals invalid operation exception. Oh, that might be what's going on here. There we go, exceptions. It's a little weird that it doesn't show me when that exception happens. I'll figure that out. Did I just miss a slash exception now? Thrown if no piece is in the specified position. So we shouldn't be able to get pieces. Notice that this doesn't return null. We like, for the most part, we like methods that don't return null because it allows you to think through things pretty well. And we can use isEmpty to determine first. So you can add a check to say if it is not empty, get the piece. But ideally we should be only dealing with getting pieces in position and getting stuff that's on the board in those positions. Okay, the knit board. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to put here. Oh, I do. A row column pair that contains a piece on this board. Okay, init board, get piece. This is gonna clear, so the idea here, clears the board and adds all of the, clears the board and adds and places the pieces from places. There's the board. Let's change this. Initializes this board by removing any pieces on the board and replacing them and adding all pieces. So my question is, do I want to add all the pieces that are here, or do I want to add copies of those pieces? So these pieces have state. So do I want to make copies of these I pieces? I think I might want copies so that way this list of pieces doesn't change. Adding, yeah, so it's like if I initialize it. So in my mind, I'm thinking later on, for my puzzles, I'm gonna have sort of a list of pieces that's like a configuration, a list of pieces to add to the board. I don't necessarily wanna have to recreate that every time, so that I could just like have that and put it here and it's gonna make copies. And adding copies, I'm not sure, adding each of the specified pieces to the board. All right, that's what I'm gonna say. Adds them, each of the specified pieces to the board. Adds a copy of each of the specified pieces. I'm gonna make copies of them. Maybe that's dumb. I'm not sure. Because the pieces, so my thought is, do the pieces have state? The pieces are pieces aware of the board they're on. Otherwise, pieces could be, you know, immutable. And I'm not sure if I want my pieces to be immutable or not. Adds each of the specified pieces to the board. I'm not sure if they're immutable yet, so I'm gonna do this so far. I'm gonna decide a list of pieces to add. Yeah, so returns. If I put something here, I don't think it's does. Returns. Okay, so I should really be putting my return in a return here. Returns true if the board could be initialized, and false otherwise. And maybe I should have it throw an exception so you know why it couldn't be initialized. So that's like an alternative. So maybe this is a void. And I should have an exception. Argument exception. Something like that, or an invalid operation exception. Thrown if the board could not be initialized with the specified pieces. So for example, if you specify, so the question is, these pieces probably, so this is why I was thinking, like, these pieces have a position inside of them. So it comes with a position. This is why I was thinking they're mutable, of where they are on the board, and adds a copy. So that's what I'm gonna do, adds a copy of the specified pieces to the board. So yes, I'm gonna have it make a copy of these because they're gonna have state, they're gonna have positions where they can move on the board. They're gonna be aware of their position. That's how I'm gonna do it. Okay, so that gives me that information. Or my initial idea for a board is defined. Eyepiece. I guess I'm supposed to add a doc comment here. Represents an eye chessboard. Represents a rectangular grid that may grid which holds some number of eye pieces. Yeah, so holds some number of eye pieces. That number could be 0. It's a terrible comment, but that's what I got so far. Eyepiece. So now that I have that, my idea with my eyepiece, right? Public string name. All right, so we're gonna have a name that we can get. So this will be like pawn, rook, those sort of things. Public int pair position, like that. So it can have a position. And I don't want to set our own position, so that's internal. Internal is the piece should be able to handle the logic of how it moves. All right, so then we want a public bool. So here's a thought. Public bool. Public bool. I want to move. And then this is going to take in an int target. So a question I have is, my idea was this is going to return a Boolean true if the move was successful and false if the move was not successful. So true if it was successful, false if it wasn't successful. But there's more than that. So like it could be true if it was successful, but it would be nice to know like the result. Was a piece captured? That's one of the things that might be nice to know. When I move into this target, does it capture the piece? All right. I also am going to say that a piece has a reference to the board it's on. All right. So every piece, so public iBoard, iChessboard. So you should be able to get access to the board it's on, board, like this. And so a thought is, can an eyepiece be independent of a board? And there's this weird initialization thing where it says, well, it's not on a board until I call init and give it a board. So I actually think I'm gonna do a question mark here. So this is nullable. The board might be null. Maybe it doesn't have a board. So that's what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna say maybe it doesn't have a board. Whenever I use nullables, it bites me in the butt later. So we're gonna we're gonna do this, but in my mind, okay, eyepiece may not be on a board. It may be captured. It may be off the board. It may be somewhere, but it might not be on the board. Then it has a position on that board. Again, this is interesting because position int. Maybe it has no position, or maybe board should be part of that position. Ooh, that's an interesting idea. Maybe I like that better. Maybe I should have a class called position that tells us where this piece actually is. Is it on a board? And if it's on a board, it needs to have a position on that board. Kind of like that. And if it's not on a board, we could have some kind of special class that says not on a board. I'm not sure. I'm logicking through this right now. So we got board, we got position, we got move. Do I want it to have a position? And position may not actually be on a board. It just would be kind of nice. Still pass these in for position. Okay. Well, we're gonna continue here. We're gonna keep thinking through this. Yeah. Public bool has moved. So there are certain pieces where knowing whether or not the piece has moved is important. So, ooh, this could be interesting. I could have a start position, and then my init, I don't have to make a copy. Yeah. Unit piece on the board and adds and places them on the board at their eyepiece.start position. I kind of like that. So there's a start position where it will be, all right, which is an intent, so it starts in a specific spot. Then we have an actual position. So we have an actual position. We know whether or not it has moved. I want to be able to initialize these, so I don't want to be able to set has moved. These should be internal, but I want to be able to reset a piece if I need to. So I'm gonna have a public void init, which will reset the piece, or initialize it. So like has moved would be false. Its start, but its position becomes start position. Yeah. This board thing is bothering me. Let's keep trying. So move lets me try to move to a target. I get a bool. If I can't do that, I'm gonna call this try move. Okay, so try move is gonna attempt to move into this spot, return a true if it was successful. I like that better. Because it's not telling me anything, it's not giving me anything else. So then I'm gonna also have a public list int get possible moves. This is gonna tell me the different positions that this piece is allowed to move into. So I'm gonna have this method tell me where my piece can move on the board, and this will be useful for doing like displaying. When you select a piece, it can like show you where that piece can go on the board. All right, so this is sort of my interface here, my interfaces. Got my properties at the top. Let's go here. Name returns the name of this. Ooh, I need one other thing. I need a color. Public color piece color get like this, and I'm gonna make an enumerated type. Create new file. Piece color public enum piece color white black. And in my namespace, okay, white black. Public, string name, duh. Piece color. So we know which player controls that. And oh, this is interesting. And potentially piece color, we might be able to add more colors here. Like a 4-player chess game would be interesting. But for now, we'll keep it like this. Returns the name of this. Returns the common, name of this eyepiece. So this will be like pawn, rook, queen, etc. Not returns the common name for this eyepiece. Weird. The color of this eyepiece. Some of these feel unnecessary. The board that this piece is currently on, or null if this piece is not on a board. Okay. Start position, the position that this piece starts at, the current position of this piece, true if this piece has moved, and false otherwise. It's moved at least once. I need another boolean here that I'm missing. Is captured. Get. True if this piece has been captured, and false otherwise. Yeah, so the board that this piece is currently associated with, and null or null if it is not associated with a board. I don't like this. This bothers me, but I want to have a reference to the board it's attached to. And so maybe, otherwise I do a knit and pass in a chessboard. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Current position of this piece. All right, we'll get there. When we start implementation, we'll get a better feel for it. Attempts to move this piece to the specified position. If the piece was able to move, this returns true. Otherwise returns false. So if for any reason this piece could not move, it returns false. Returns a list of possible moves that this piece can make. All right. Feel like I'm not using the documentation comments properly, but I'm okay with that. Initializes this piece if this piece is associated with a board. Interesting. With a board, initializes it. So I'm gonna put a false, a bool. That by placing it in its start position and setting is captured to false. Initializes it. After a call to this, if this method returns true, is captured will be false, has moved will be false, and position will equal start position. Okay. Otherwise the state of this eyepiece is unknown. So we're going to try to initialize it. If we can't put it in that spot, it's going to return false. Or if it couldn't be set, essentially this is making sure that nothing else was in that spot. So if you have multiple pieces who want to compete for the same space, this is going to return false on one of them. And then in turn, the init board will throw an exception basically saying that couldn't do it. Okay. I'm gonna also add in public void reset board. Resets the state of the board by initializing all of the current pieces that are on the board. Yeah, so we got an init, then we got a reset. So maybe I don't even need this init, it would be a init more like part of a constructor. So a chessboard represents like an actual puzzle. I think I like that better. So reset board would essentially call resetting all of these. This gives me this this thing here where we can get the board, and we're going to say that all pieces, essentially when you construct a piece, you have to have a board initially. It's annoying because it's hard to, without this interface having like an add piece. It's going to be part of a constructor though. So I think I can be okay. I can say that these are things that just have to be true for all pieces and all boards. I'm getting too pedantic, I think, about what I want. All right, I got my first attempt at my interfaces here. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna stop here. I just wanted to start doing this, get myself to start doing something today. I'm on vacation, and so it would be really easy to just not do anything over the break. So I'm trying to keep myself active. All right, so let me commit this. Git add. Make sure I didn't add anything dumb. Yeah. Git commit -m feat and first draft of eyepiece, eyeboard, and eyepiece and eyeboard. All right.